Alright guys, here's every book that I checked out last year. I'm gonna review every single book, one sentence each. Just so you guys know, there are affiliate links in the description. If you buy anything through those links, like any of these books, then I get commission, which helps me build this channel and keep making these videos. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Sam, and I want to make self-growth normal, because people shouldn't have to look this information up. It should just be mainstream knowledge. If you agree, then please make sure to smash that like button. The Art of War by Sun Tzu, a heavyweight, impossibly concise, and historically unbreakable guide to effective war strategy. Spare by Prince Harry, the Duke of Sussex. The candid and strikingly detailed but unsurprisingly ghost-written story of the Duke of Sussex, who at the end of the day, no matter what we may say, is painted as an imperfect person who bleeds the same blood, experiences the same emotions, and values the same bare necessities that anyone else does. $100 Million Offers by Alex Hormozi, a splendid example of the rarity that is a true, serious, hardcore, and somehow comprehensible money science book, named our #1 recommendation of 2023 that was not published in 2023. How to Be a Billionaire by Martin S. Fridson. Definitely not a guide to being a billionaire, but certainly a series of important financial habits and principles and rules that people lived by rather stringently, becoming billionaires partially but directly as a result. Love Pamela by Pamela Anderson. A beautifully written and at times poetic yet painfully incomplete and somehow occasionally disjointed memoir by the model, actress, and I suppose animal activist who holds the record for the most Playboy covers. 8 Rules of Love by Jay Shetty, a very impressive, fun, and all-encompassing book that fuses newer practice with older science and written by an ex-monastery monk. Dopamine Nation by Anna Lemke, a book about not simply dopamine and what it does to the brain, but so much about related things that in a sense it's barely about that. Courage is Calling by Ryan Holiday, a Ryan Holiday book that's so Ryan Holiday that Ryan Holiday out-Ryan Holidayed himself by saturating it with Ryan Holidays of Ryan Holiday. The Expectation Effect by David Robson, a refreshing look at how expectations shape reality. What does and doesn't happen when we take certain drugs, do certain exercises, and eat certain foods, how we age, how much energy we have, and ultimately the type of book that on a macro level aims to make nonfiction out of science fiction. Hold Me Tight by Sue Johnson. Easily the best and most useful relationship book I've come across since The 5 Love Languages. I was floored. Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway by Susan Jeffers, a book whose point is blanketed by its author's pleasant personality and intentions, leaving us with dynamic techniques for turning fear, indecision, and anger into power, action, and love. The Fred Factor by Mark Sanborn, wholehearted and unique proof that anyone can stand out and make a difference in their occupation, no matter what it is, by going the extra mile in their own way. Tribe of Mentors by Tim Ferriss, a stunning, unknowing testament to a legendary self-improvement podcaster's desire to share what successful people have learned in their endeavors with an, at some points, exhaustively repetitive but unique and interesting series of important interview questions. Own the Day, Own Your Life by Aubrey Marcus, a spectacular journey through the cultivations of better diet, personal care, workflow, exercise, personal life, sex, sleep, and more, alongside a mindful collection of personality, humility, and at times a silly sense of humor. Your Next 5 Moves by Patrick Bet-David, a solid practical wall of lessons in business growth by a well-connected and driven entrepreneurship fanatic who never misses a beat in his research. You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hayes, an easily overlookable train wreck that's too impulsively untethered in spirit to recognize where seeing only the good in things can hurt us. Blink by Malcolm Gladwell, a string of stories that explains like nothing else why we make some of the best, worst, and most ridiculous decisions as quickly as we do, and how even the most trained experts don't notice certain details that can cause seriously catastrophic failures. Written by one of the most gifted and iconic storytellers easily of our time. Stillness is the Key by Ryan Holiday, probably the most cohesive work by this author, describing the way stillness applies to the mind, spirit, and body that helps us cultivate more wholesome and virtuous lives. The Dichotomy of Leadership by Jocko Willink and Leif Babin, with an unmatched level of teamwork by 2 former Navy SEAL commanders. The dichotomies of what makes effective leadership are dissected using discipline, creativity, and stellar storytelling. Fooled by Randomness by Nassim Taleb, a series of draws from theories and essays in statistics and risk analysis by a former options trader that got way too interesting, way too far into itself to do itself much justice beyond the author's infamous personality and nihilistic sense of humor. The 4 Disciplines of Execution by Sean Coffey, an organized mesh of behaviors and actions that you can take to achieve your wildly important goal, with everything needed to convey its point, from the stories to the real world experiences to the way the author tackles the subject matter, being very talk about it, be about it. The Innovators by Walter Isaacson, a frighteningly detailed and exciting but also kind of sassy amalgamation of stories, sort of gossipy, that describe not just how a bunch of brainiacs created the information age from scratch, but how they worked together, their motivations, and their team dynamics behind closed doors, written by my favorite biographer and likely to be a very underrated piece in his bibliography. Never Eat Alone by Keith Ferrazzi, a story-heavy manifesto of power moves you can use to increase the weight of your social and professional network, written by a millionaire who made his way out of a childhood farm home in Latrobe, Pennsylvania that he can't shut up about and stop referencing. You Can't Screw This Up by Adam Bernstein, an orderly, salient, hyper-modern, and wildly unusual promotion of using takeout and dessert to take the stress out of dieting, mixed together by a world-renowned expert's empathy and understanding for the consequences of beating yourself up in our day and age over not getting X results by X time. Positioning by Al Rise and Jack Trout, a solid 43-year-old marketing and branding book, somehow self-saturated by the sheer quantity of its own examples. Super Attractor by Gabrielle Bernstein, a fairly written dance across the journey of going from fear to faith by a self-proclaimed spirit junkie, that's her branding thing she calls it, who's definitely doing her part to stay relevant. The Song of Significance by Seth Godin, the most unforeseen example I could give someone of a disappointment that didn't disappoint, by a distinguished marketing and business expert. Word Slut by Amanda Montell, a surprisingly unbiased and remarkably well-researched feminist perspective on 21st century American language and communication, where it comes from and how we can use it while we evolve as a society. The Gap and the Gain by Dan Sullivan and Benjamin Hardy, an eloquent but comprehensible guide to looking back on things constructively instead of toward things with dread or worry of them not happening like you want them to. Build the Life You Want by Arthur C. Brooks and Oprah Winfrey. This book is a dedication to your life's journey, getting happier year after year and bringing happiness to your life and others from experts who kept it simple and easy to understand. The Happiness Hypothesis by Jonathan Haidt, a deep dive into how happiness comes from inside rather than outside, using examples from every major area of understanding in modern society, from like history, art, science, politics, business, education, and more. The Talent Code by Daniel Coyle, what I would consider to be the trusty ode to an obscure mixture in psychology called myelin that contributes more to skill development than probably literally anything. The Comfort Crisis by Michael Easter, much more personal than I thought it'd be, but not personal enough to eclipse the points that he's trying to get across, that we're all still deeply connected to the natural world and how technological advances don't always fix things like we think they do. 4,000 Weeks by Oliver Burkeman, and a hyper-modern, unorthodox perspective on time management that helps us understand in a way probably none other can just how little time we have on this earth. Endure by Cameron Hanes, more of a memoir than an instruction manual it might paint itself as, by a gilded bow hunter, but the type of biography that causes you to look back on your life wondering when you could have tried harder and pushed yourself more. Of course, in a good way. Limitless by Jim Quick. The first 75% of this book didn't need to exist. Elon Musk by Walter Isaacson. In exceeding detail, something that Walter Isaacson is incapable of not producing, a legendary biographer, Walter Isaacson, covers the life of the notorious SpaceX and Tesla founder. Be Useful by Arnold Schwarzenegger. Arnold Schwarzenegger draws from his experience and education in business, acting, and politics to thoroughly present 7 tips for living a more useful and successful life. The Courage to Be This-Like by Ikiro Kishimi and Fumitaki Koga. A deep, intriguing, and thought-provoking series of conversations between a boy and a philosopher on the modern applicability of a legendary 20th century psychologist's teachings toward happiness, freedom, and self-expression. Hidden Potential by Adam Grant. A painstakingly researched and exciting plunge into the limitlessness of skill development by a Wharton professor in organizational psychology. The Woman in Me by Britney Spears. The vulnerable and fictitious self-told life story of one of the most iconic women in the history of pop music. Named our #1 book of 2023, Essentialism by Greg McKeown. This book is what you'll find at an intersectional education between minimalism and success. Factfulness by Hans Rosling. A fair starting point in, and a good reason for, introducing the world to the importance of raising a generation to be more humble and curious than the previous, not in ways that you'd expect either. $1 Million Habits by Brian Tracy. Actual habits people use to become millionaires. Written by by a robotically disciplined and prolific author. Let me know what you guys think of this list. Let me know what your favorite books were of the year. Let me know if there are any books you think I should have checked out that weren't on the list. I'm gonna try to put as many affiliate links as I can to these books, but I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already. Let's make 2024 a killer year. But if you have subscribed and you want to turn it up just a notch and turn on that notification bell to get a notification whenever I drop new videos, that would mean the world to me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. You can find me everywhere, and I will see you then.